Hi, I'm Jennet Ingle, the 5-Minute Reedmaker. If you're watching this on YouTube, would you go ahead and click subscribe, and that way you will always know when I drop new episodes. Today we are doing a reed repair shop service on Christine's reeds, and these three reeds looked markedly different from each other, and that is of course because Christine is evolving. She has dramatically improved her reed making in the past month or so, but the older reeds, the ones prior to her having new tricks and skills in her toolbox, are still totally salvageable. So we discovered what it takes to bring these older reeds that were not really working to completion, and we found some tweaks that helped her with her new reed as well. You'll notice that the first half of this video, the first bit of this video, took place during Reed Club, which is my Monday night group, and we were able to talk live in person about her reads, which was really fun. That is a thing that you could join too, and you can find information about that on my website. So, I mean, Christine, I can definitely make a longer video about these tomorrow, but look at these. The thing that's really standing out, these green guys are the cane that you sent.
Yeah. Oh.
And so those look like they look a little wide compared to a normal reed of mine, I think, but like only a little bit. They're pretty normal looking for me. But then these reeds just seem so markedly different in shape and a little bit in scraping style from each other. So it feels surprising that these are the same cane. I'm looking at the throat dimension, which is very, very narrow in both of these, both the red and the pink reeds, but then it does something really different up top. And then the gold one is even much wider. So that stands out to me. And the red one plays right away beautifully, so easily. And it plays really easily. It holds its pitch up. It looks gorgeous. I really like everything about that reed. And then I pick up this guy.
Now, that was made at least a month ago.
Okay.
Before my reed classes.
Ah! So is this the culmination of new paying attention?
That was 2 weeks ago, last week, yes.
Wow. What a difference.
Yeah.
What a difference.
Thank you.
Yeah, because this guy, sorry, I'm chasing tools. So the first thing that I hear is this very up and very bright and sort of disorganized crow. And what that makes me think about right away is that the center of the tip is probably too thin. And indeed, as I look at that, that seems to be the case. I can easily see that there's a lot of bulk on the far left and far right sides. And you know what? I'm going to do that first. That's the first thing I'm doing. So if I basically just go to the gutter of the rooftop and cut in, and then scrape sort of the rightmost 3 or 4 grains, and I do the same over here on the left.
It's amazing how much cane you can take off when I think I'm down as far as I can go. Yeah.
Yes. Yep. I totally understand that. Because and what I think I'm doing mostly is really working hard with my finger behind the reed, my index finger, to really direct the reed at the knife in exactly the way I want. Oh, look, I took a corner, but I don't think it's going to matter. there's a ton of difference there, and now we can really see the shape of that rooftop. Whereas on this other side that I didn't touch, if I draw what I think I see, that is sort of the structure of the rooftop.
Right.
And I can see how you've like started it lower, like, and this looks a little bit more traditional down here, but there's just so much bulk in this area that I think is what's making the crow be so like disorganized and wild, and what's making it not really vibrate through. So let me dip it, and I'm going to scrape that side. And again, I'm just cutting right in at the gutter, and then patting the kitty on the way out. And this is tons of wood there. Feels so good to get that off. Okay. And that is a crow, even though this reed is still a little bit crazy looking in some other ways, but just doing, literally just the sides and corners of the tip and reinforcing the shape of the rooftop brought that crow from being like up and all over the place to being organized and probably a bee. So I can clip that right away. Okay.
Yep.
So already that's a ton better. And the next thing I see on this reed is that there's really almost nothing taken out of the windows behind the heart, in stark contrast to what you did, a couple weeks later with this red reed. And I think we've got such nice depth of sound in the red reed because of all the stuff you've taken out behind the heart. So I kind of want to do that here too. I just sort of draw my line at about 60. It's a messy line. And I'm going to scrape out behind that. And there's actually so much cane back here.
I see that.
It feels so good to get this off. And now we've opened up the crow, and it sounds more, well, it's still the same octaves, but it feels deeper inside my mouth.
Thank you. Yeah.
Hey. That is dramatically different from what we had just a few minutes ago. And all I did was sort of make it look more like this red one by really reinforcing the sides and corners.
So if I take the reeds that I worked on, and again, this was months ago.
Oh, yeah.
I still have a lot of cane, so I can still save them.
Yes. Yeah. I don't.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think this was anything like too late on this reed. And on this guy, he's gotten really dry. But, oh my gosh, yes, I see all the same things.
Okay.
So, thin in the middle. And then thick on the sides. I can see actually a ton of bark still on the heart. Or, not so much bark as that kind of chalky cane that exists right underneath. I'm not sure if you can see it because the light might be... Oh, there it is.
I see it.
The reflection there.
Yep.
Like we can get rid of that almost certainly.
See, that's what I was doing, but someone else said they were doing too. Taking off too much cane and then not taking off enough and having to find the... Yeah.
Yeah, we totally do that. We're always sort of... what's the word I want? Penduluming from one side to the other of whatever perfect is. But I think, and let me measure just in case this cane is something weirder than I think it is. No, right in the middle of that chalky stuff, you're at like 53 here, and usually mine lives, but my finished heart lives between 46 and 50-ish. Okay. So there's plenty of room there. So shall I do this one too? Same thing?
No, that's okay. Other people have things to show you, I'm sure. But
Hi, Christine. So I am looking at these reeds of yours and the ones of mine that I made from your cane. And I know we talked a little bit about this last night, but I've got some more thoughts for you as well. So you're using this cane that is Van Doren cane, and it's shaped at the factory, so you don't have control over the shape. And my observation is that the shape is a little bit wider than the shape that I generally use, my Joshua 2. It's both wider and more flared. I can really see that. This is one of the ones that I made off of your cane. It's definitely wider and more flared, and for that reason, as I play these reeds that I made, I struggle a little bit in the upper register. Like, it's holding itself up okay, but it's definitely going, it leans a little bit flat up in the second octave. Right, if I work it, of course, it's no trouble at all. And what I really like about these reeds is how easy it was to make them vibrate, how easy it was to make them respond. I think this is whatever your source is for this Van Doren medium, it seems like great cane, and it's, you know, I have no real concerns with it other than that the width of the shape might be causing a little bit of flatness up top. Then you sent these 3 reeds. This red one is one that you have made much more recently, and it's actually a very nice reed, which I will deal with a little bit later. And the gold and pink reeds are ones that you made earlier, prior to doing some, prior to like following along with some of my videos, is what I understood from your conversation. So these are sort of your old version of reed making. And here's this golden one that we haven't touched at all, that I haven't touched at all. What I see is that it's very wide, of course. It's slipped. The sides are slipped backwards so that I can see the lower blade over here on the right-hand side rather than on the left, which is what I would normally prefer. I'm looking for focus here in my camera. And the other thing that I see is there's a ton of bark, and of that like sort of chalky cane that underlies the bark right in the heart area for sure. I'm just looking around to see if I can find the reflection of that cane here in my lens. And then the other thing, which I know we talked about a little bit, is that the tip is very much sort of uniformly thin across. The rooftop is not terribly clearly defined. I can sort of see it here, and on this side, I think I already diagrammed this a little bit. You've actually got a real thin place right up in here, and the rooftop is sort of narrowly, it's very shallow and it's not very, very clear. So if I just take this reed here and make it look more like a reed, sorry. Let me play it for you. It crows a little wild. In fact, it almost doesn't beep at all. It's very hard for me to get a pure beep in playing position. It just wants to crow right away because the tip and the heart are so related to each other. They're so close in thickness. So what I want to do here is immediately work on thinning the sides and the corners of the tip and structuring the rooftop so that it's a little bit more like my mental image of a rooftop. And once we've got that, I bet that will tame the crow right away and give you something a little bit more pure to work with. So I'm just cutting in a little bit at that rooftop and then just sort of petting the kitty up. My goal is to make the rightmost 2 or 3 grains for sure be the thinnest part of the tip, and then the same thing on the left. I'm cutting in at the gutter of the rooftop, and then I'm just very gently scraping up to the corner. Do the same on the other side. And there's just tons of wood on here on the sides of the tip. And already, even though that's all I've done, I can now beep it and get a sound that I expect from a beep, and I can crow it, and I can find those octaves. So that's a really different experience, and that's all from just reshaping the rooftop and thinning the sides and corners so that we've got good slope in the tip. Next thing I want to do, it's funny because the cane feels thin in my mouth, and yet I can see that there's bark and that there's chalky cane within the heart. So I think what's going on actually is that you've not made giant distinctions between the thickness in the windows and the thickness in the heart and the thickness in the tip, really. So all the vibration that you'd gotten before, you'd gotten by just scraping long. And I think I'm gonna just smooth the heart and polish it just until we're in the good part of the cane. I forgot to have you listen, but this time I'm going to be quiet and let you listen and see if you can hear the difference between sort of the scratchy quality of the bark and the chalky stuff and the very quiet scraping quality of the good cane. So I don't know whether that came through or not, but I could very clearly hear a scratch, scratch, scratch where there was bark on the sides. And then as I scraped across it, and as I worked through the bad part of the cane, it really got quiet and nice as I scraped. And finally, I'm just going to define that heart a little bit more by working behind it and just opening the windows a little. And now I think I can probably clip this. Yep. Feels like that's still crowing a little bit low, but I'll try it on the oboe. And to me, the whole thing still feels a little overly smooth, as though it's just too easy for the vibrations to move from the tip through the heart. So I'm going to strengthen the heart a little bit more by continuing to work behind the heart, and I'm going to strengthen the heart a little more by continuing to work above the heart too. Just another tweak of those sides and corners of the tip to bring this guy into balance. Sides and corners. The crow is ever so much more organized and pure, right? Easy beep. And a crow that is two like pleasant and smooth octaves. Quick clip. So this reed, which was really quite chaotic a few minutes ago when we started with it, you had not gone too far with it at all. You had just scraped in sort of the wrong areas and not really defined it very clearly. And suddenly now there's a reed. It's quite a nice reed. The opening is quite closed, and as you see, and I'm going to hypothesize that that has to do with the goofy overlap, the backwards overlap, and maybe just some characteristics of this cane itself, because I don't really see a lot that you've done dramatically wrong in working on this reed that would cause this opening to be so small. It's just kind of the way it is. So we're going to do that. Now, next, I want to talk about this pink reed that we worked on a little bit last night. It had the exact same issues as the gold one and was even a little bit, well, quite a bit shorter. Because, you know, as you worked on it on your own, you had really been working hard to get it to be a reed, and it just kept not being one. So as I look at this, proportionally, it's definitely down in a sort of a funny place, right? It's at 68 millimeters. The rooftop's down at 63. So the whole thing is very, very little. And yet we were able to get it to a pretty reasonable balance when we worked on it last night. Of course, overnight, it has stiffened up and changed a little bit. So here's what I've got now. It is beeping and crowing, and the crow is organized, but it's very hard. It feels like I have to put a lot of energy in. And when I play it on the oboe, also, it's very resistant. So, here's the deal. As I look at this reed, I think I do want to scrape in the heart a little bit. Now, because you're structured so short at this point, I have some concern about breaking down the heart anymore, but I do see quite a lot of just shiny on here, like right into this area, and there's bark on the sides, and I feel like the whole thing is just going to get a little bit easier to play if we can knock that down a little. Ooh, let me check the measurement too. Oh my lord. Look at that, the heart's at 60 millimeters. Or 60 microns rather. How is this reed even playing? Good heavens. Okay. Well, that's what I'm going to do then. This reed, last night what we did with it was we gave you a cleaner rooftop and thinned the sides and corners of the tip. And before I do anything else, I'm just going to do a little bit more of that. I know I said that the heart was the big problem, and it is, but we always go for response first. So just a little bit cleaner of a cut in, and look at how much wood I'm able to find here on this tip that I already worked on last night. Part of it is that cane grows back overnight. I know it doesn't really, but it always feels like it does. And part of it is that, you know, we made some very dramatic changes to the structure of this reed last night. And in the moment, they presented as dramatic improvements, and now overnight the thing stiffens up, which is totally normal, and so we just can't feel quite the dramaticness, the drama of that improvement now. Okay, now I've got a crow. It's pretty well organized, but it's very high, and now I really do want to deal with that heart, with the shiny bark and the chalkiness that we can see here. And the fact that at 60 hundredths of a millimeter, or I guess 6/10 of a millimeter thick, this is almost as thick in the heart as your original piece of cane was. So it's very impressive to me that we had it vibrating at all. Listen again, we'll just see if we can hear the sound of the bad cane coming off. Okay, lovely. So I just have smoothed and polished the heart on this side, and I'm going to go ahead and look at the other. And I'll go ahead and do that too. And I know it looks like I'm taking a ton of cane off, but it's nothing to what I would do on a brand new reed. Just cleaning, cleaning, cleaning. Oh, we've dropped the crow so substantially now. Let's clip again. see what we've got now. All right, so I feel like that for a reed that was unplayable yesterday, or largely unplayable, and is as short and dinky as it is, that's a pretty good result. Again, with both of these reeds, you hadn't finished them. You had left a ton too much cane at the sides and corners of the tip, and in the heart, and in the windows too. But we were definitely able to structure those into real reeds. Then the other reed that I wanted to visit was this finished one. I'm dipping it right now, which I have not touched yet, and which was by far the most successful of the 3 reeds you sent. This one is also, I'm lying. This one is structured really nicely. It is definitely not overwound. It is just at 70 millimeters and a hair below 65 with your rooftop. And here it is crowing. It crows just a little bit low, and here it is playing. What I love is how responsive it is, how immediately responsive. And I like that it holds its pitch together really, really well. And I like that it has a good opening despite you having taken out the spine. That's the way I structure my reeds too, honestly. So it's really very nice. My only concern with it is it feels just a little bit, bright isn't quite the word, but I would say light. As I blow, I don't feel as though I can put like a ton of really powerful air behind it without it spreading. I feel like it's just not protecting my sound very much. And when I looked at the structure within the tip, I feel like that is what's going on there. I can see, like on the left side, quite a thin place that is not totally justified by what's to the left of it. That is to say, it looks as though this region is thinner than this. On the right, there's something just a little bit lumpy, right? Like there's a two-step transition a little bit, and then you're sort of thinnish here and then thicker up here. Just a little. And over here, it seems slightly erratic in the same ways. And my hypothesis here is that if we can get the gradient of slope within the tip to be smoother toward the side and toward the corner, and can really reinforce that the side, the rightmost and leftmost edges, and the corners themselves are the very thinnest parts of the tip, I think we'll have that much more quality of sound and security of tone in this reed. And I kind of don't want to touch anything else because it's working and it's structured well. I'm just looking at the sort of slightly inconsistent slope in the tip. So let's see if I can fix that. I'm just using my knife oh so lightly here, but I'm starting right at the gutter and allowing it to go up the side, just with the smallest, lightest strokes. Oh yeah. Other side. Oh yeah. And if you look at this quality of cane that's coming off, it's so little. But that's what I'm trying to do, is just to get you the smoothest possible slope in the tip and really confirm the parts of the reed that are going to be thin versus that are going to be thicker. Okay, other side. And what I'm hoping will happen from this is that I'll drop the crow a tiny bit, I'll clip, and then it will be even better than before. Dropped the crow. There we go. With the first clip, I didn't like the crow, so I just went ahead and did it again. It's relatively subtle. I'm not sure if you can hear through the recording, but to me that feels immediately darker and immediately more protected sound-wise. So that is your 3 reeds here, and I think they are terrific and better now than they were. This has been a Reed Repair Shop session. If you would like my attention on your reeds in this way, you can find information about Reed Repair Shop on my website, jennetingle.com. If you would like to be live in a room with me and with a big group of other people who are all working on reeds and talking about reeds, you might be interested in joining my weekly Reed Club, which takes place Monday evenings, and which is also available from my website, jennetingle.com. Thank you so much for watching. I hope that this was helpful. Have a great day.